This is the only person that doesn't have an actual napkin contract. This is a very special one. He agreed via email, never a bar napkin contract. He's gonna do it anyway. I'm fired up. He's a fellow freak of mine, Mike, Mitty, Matlick. Give it up right now.
Thank you all for coming tonight. I appreciate it. I know the weather sucks. It's raining and pouring, but you all made it out, so I appreciate it. Before we start, I want to urge you all to order another round of drinks. Maybe order another 2 rounds of drinks. It's going to probably make everything here tonight a lot funnier. I promise you that. Maybe not. So my daughter comes up to me the other day and she says to me, she says, "Daddy, do you remember the time that you took a shit at Disney World and it was green?" and I remembered, and it really started with her. It started with her. We were in Disney World last night, and she came out of the bathroom and she announced to the family. She says, "My poop's green." And you know, I didn't think much of it. You know, it happens every now and then. And about 20 minutes later, I ended up going to the bathroom, and I had a green shit as well. And didn't think anything of it again until about 15 minutes later, when I got called to duty, literally, to change my son's diaper, and he had a green turd line in his diaper as well. And so, of course, the 3 of us were waiting in anticipation for my wife to use the bathroom. And sure enough, when she used the bathroom, she came out, and her shit was not great. And we were trying to figure out how the hell that happened. And you know, we flew in earlier from Newark, and we eat anything, and boom, the light bulb went on, and immediately I knew it. And earlier that night, we had dinner in Mexico. That was Mexico at Epcot Center. We were eating blue tortilla chips, lots of blue tortilla chips. And I don't know if you guys know this, but something I learned in college, one of the few things, is that we had a cook named Suzette. And Suzette used to always fill up these big Gatorade jugs filled with purple Kool-Aid. Every now and then it was purple. And whenever it was purple, the entire fraternity house ended up having green shits. I shit you not. It was like a running story. It was like for 2 days. Everyone was walking around the house. Did you have a green shit? I had a green shit. Did you have a green shit? I had a green shit. Everybody had a green shit. And it was pretty funny. And speaking about censoring our kids, my daughter, I caught my wife trying to teach my daughter once, early on when she was young, that her private parts was her front tushy. What the fuck is a front tushy? And I had to end that right away. I had to nip that in the butt. And I immediately explained, no, that's your vagina. And I was going to have one of these retard girls walking around calling her vagina her front tushy. I mean, it's just silly. Let alone thinking that her parents were bigger retards trying to trick her into thinking her vagina was her front tushy. It's just silly. So from that moment on, my daughter always knew the difference between a vagina and an ass. Speaking of asses, my name's Mike. This is my first time. That's probably not what you want to hear your doctor say right before you get knocked out on your way to your first colonoscopy. Which is exactly what happened to me about 2 years ago. And anybody here been knocked out before surgery? Yeah. Guy over there in the orange hat looks like he's been knocked out a couple times. So I didn't think they could knock me out. I didn't think it was possible. I didn't think there was any way they were going to knock me out. By the time I heard the doctor say first time, the next thing I know, he was saying, "You're done." And I'm waking up out of my stupor, out of my haze, and the only thing I hear him say is inflammation and Google. The only thing I could really hear is first time. So I immediately went home and I consulted Google, and like my doctor asked me to do, and I don't know about you guys, but Google's great for me. I got that shit wired so tight, actually Gmail emails me approximately 15 minutes before I'm going to have to take a shit. So I decided I had to change my diet around a little bit. I had to cut out milk products, and milk is a weird concept to me. I mean, if you think about it, what human being at what point decided that they were going to go play with the cow's tit to produce milk for human consumption? It just doesn't make sense. What other animal group goes around drinking milk from another animal group? It doesn't make sense. So I decided that I had to cut out milk, and it's baffling to me, and so my daughter comes up to me and she asks the dreaded question. She says, "Daddy, where do babies come from?" And I look back for a second. I'm like, "Well, vaginas." She kind of was like, "What?" She's 5, by the way. She's like, "How is that possible?" And I looked down and I'm like, "Well, yeah, they stretch big enough so that the babies." She looked at me in horror and fear, but she accepted it. She was like, "Okay, what was I supposed to do? Tell her to stork?" I decided a long time ago that when I realized that 50% of everything that my parents ever told me was 100% bullshit, that I wasn't going to bullshit my kids. I was going to be straight with them. I was going to tell them the difference between a vagina and an ass, and that if they eat enough green or enough blue chips, they were going to have green shits. And speaking of kids, they're really easy to make laugh. I was going to say I wish you guys were a bunch of kids, but I should laugh. Anyway, this really isn't going anywhere, so I'm going to wrap it up. So, this is the synchronicity in my life. It's just happened this past weekend. My in-laws had their 40th wedding anniversary, and I found out that my daughter had convinced and tricked one of the younger kids to ask the adults where babies come from. And sure enough, there was a group of adults and kids, and one of the little kids, where do babies come from? And I could see across the room my daughter with a shit-eating grin on her face. And all the adults were kind of like uneasy. Who's going to take this question? Who's going to feel this one? And so one of the old geezers walks up and she's like, "You know where they come from? They come from the stork." And Maya across the room, she just kind of, she looks and she's like, "Storks don't have vaginas."